Should you wake up early to be more productive?
No. Being productive is about taking a set of actions. It's about doing things. And it doesn't really matter what time of day you do them, it just matters that you get them done. I'm actually not a fan of waking up early at all because early mornings are fragile. If you decide I'm going to wake up at 4 a.m. every single day, fantastic. You might be able to do that for a week. But what happens when there's a night out and you go, okay, we're going to go out and we're going to stay up till, oh, crazy, 9 p.m. And you go, oh God, 9 p.m. 9 p.m. means it's going to be very, very hard for me to wake up at 4 a.m. 4 a.m. rolls around, the alarm goes off, and you snooze it. You've started your day with a loss because you think that to be effective with your time, you need to get up early. You need to wake up early in the morning. I really only see waking up early in the morning being effective for people in the 9 to 5, where you know, okay, I have a fixed amount of time throughout the day that I have to essentially trade my time to a corporation. So it's going to make sense to me to wake up early so I can spend these early hours actually progressing towards escaping this corporation. But as business owners, we control our time, we control when we do certain things. So choosing to wake up at a time that means that any small change in your lifestyle, any small change in your day that results in going out and doing something is going to throw everything off, and it's going to make it really hard for you to maintain consistency. And realistically, consistency is one of the most important factors when it comes to sleep.
Yeah, I was going to make the same caveat because when I was in the 9 to 5, I had to get up early at 5 a.m. You're in the same position. When you were in your 9 to 5, you were getting up at 4 a.m. That's a time when you had to get up early because the actions needed to get completed and there was no other time in the day to complete them. And I think I've been thinking about why is this like rise and grind, get up early to be productive? Why is it so popular? Why is it so prevalent? And I think maybe part of it is because everyone usually starts their journey in the 9 to 5 before they transition into entrepreneurship or working for themselves. And so they're in that mindset of, okay, well, I have to wake. They correlate waking up early and being productive from the beginning. And I think that kind of bleeds into being an entrepreneur. When you have time freedom, you get to decide when things get done. Yeah. And really, you just want to be as productive as possible when you're actually working. And what results in being more productive is having better sleep, which usually means not waking up early, especially if it's not something you can do consistently.
I think when you start off your journey and you wake up early in the morning and you feel like those are the days I become most productive, you associate waking up early with being productive. There's this association and this correlation, but there's no causation here. Waking up early doesn't inherently make you more productive or more effective with your time. To be honest, it usually is the opposite, because usually to wake up early, it means you potentially sacrifice some sleep. Unless you're getting to bed really early, you're probably sleeping less. And there's a whole host of problems with sleeping less. If you're sleeping less, your energy is going to be lower. You're making worse decisions throughout the day. You're not having the peak energy to be able to actually exert maximum effort, whether that's in your business, whether that is working out, exercising, whatever it may be. You have less overall energy. And realistically, when you look at those factors, you think, well, this has nothing to do with productivity. This is the opposite. We just correlate waking up early with being productive.
Yeah, and part of that correlation, I think, is when you get up early, you do the good behaviors because you're like, oh, I got up early to do them. And then the opposite is true. Usually late at night is when you're most likely to just binge watch TV or just scroll on your phone. Like the behaviors that you associate to different times of the day, I think is really important. And I think in the beginning, you associate, oh, I've got up early. I'm not going to get up early and then scroll on my phone. I'm not going to get up early and then go watch TV. It's like if you've done the hard thing of getting out of bed at 4 a.m., 5 a.m., 6 a.m. when it's difficult, you're going to then at least go and do the kind of difficult task that you set for yourself. And I think it's really just a behavior change of like, well, you can do those tasks whenever in the day. And realistically, you want to be doing them when you have the most mental cognition, the most energy, which means you need to be getting the best amount of sleep possible. So you have the most amount of time where you can deploy that energy. So I think it's breaking that link between, oh, I'm getting up, that means I do productive things now. Like realistically, you can do productive things at any time in the day.
I think that's a good point, is people associate certain times of the day with certain behaviors. And the more you do behaviors at certain times of the day, the more you reinforce that and it becomes second nature to you. So people oftentimes associate waking up early with doing productive things. And they often associate being up late with lying in their bed and scrolling their phone or watching a movie or being out at a nightclub. They associate worse behaviors, as in behaviors that do not push you towards your goals, with being up late. And they associate doing things that in one way or the other progress you towards your goal with being up early. And that has nothing to do with the time of the day. It's more that because of the behaviors that you've done during these times over the course of your life, you're starting to correlate and associate these. But they're pure correlation. If you can find a way of associating nighttime with being effective, then you're going to think that staying up late is more productive. And if you associate scrolling your phone and just sleeping in with the mornings, then you probably associate the mornings with being the ineffective parts of the day. I think it's really how we've reinforced our behaviors by what we do throughout these times of the day. But it doesn't have to be like that.
Yeah, and I mean, let's play out both of our pain in what getting up early was really like. Because for me, like getting up at 5 a.m. was maybe 10% of the time like yeah, this feels really good. You know, I'm the early bird getting the worm. You know, I'm beating everyone who's still asleep. Like, yeah, let's dive straight into actual productive work. Then there's probably 40% of the time where I was like, oh, this sucks. It's really hard. And I'm going to get up anyway. And like, I'm going to do some work, probably not very productive work really. When I think back on it, it was just me sitting at the desk. Like that was just the goal, was just to be at the desk at 5 a.m. And then, you know, another 40% was honestly like getting up later than I said I was going to get up, like if the alarm was at 5, snooze it a couple times, get up, maybe do like half of a productive task. And then the last 10% you don't get up, or even more than 10% you don't get up at all because you stayed up an extra hour that night, or you're just fatigued from a whole week of getting up at 5 a.m. with one inconsistent night thrown in every week. And it's a pretty miserable existence when the alarm going off is like the worst part of your day. And you get out of bed thinking like, oh God, like this is just tough. It's just not a good place to be. And I mean, we were both in that position for multiple months, maybe even years. But it's not how it has to be. And I think a big part of why it sucks so much is because you're not getting enough sleep. And sleep is like a superpower. Like if you could put sleep in a pill and sell it to people, it would be the best-selling drug of all time.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, I remember looking back on that time, getting up. I was getting up at 4 a.m. and then I would work for, well, what would it be, 4 hours before going to the 9 to 5. And as you said, when you look back on that time, really all that was happening is I was waking up early and thinking, I'm better than all of these people because I'm waking up earlier than them. And then after that, you feel like, okay, I've won because I've got up earlier. And then you sit at the desk. You probably don't do that effective work because you're extremely tired. You're like, wow, I could be in bed for another 2 hours and I'd be very happy about that. So you're not feeling so good. You get to work to the 9 to 5, 9 a.m., 10 a.m. And you're like, I just want to be in bed. I have no energy to do anything. And it's this constant battle of fatigue and tiredness because you think, oh, I'm being so effective with my time. I'm getting up early. This is great. But battling this fatigue is something that you brought upon yourself because you had the false assumption that getting up early, that sacrificing your sleep was going to somehow give you all the accolades and all the rewards. But no one's up there at 4 a.m. with you patting you on the back saying, good job, smart decision. Everyone else is in bed.
Yeah, and also the world doesn't reward you just for getting up at 4 a.m. It rewards you for the work you do, the inputs that you're taking action on. Like I remember there were times when I really didn't want to get up, but I was like, oh, I'll just get up anyway. And then I just like watched a podcast or like listened to music or just like sat on the couch. And I was like, oh, but at least I got up. It's like that was some sort of like reward. Like that was somehow I'd conflated that to be the goal. Like the goal was not to get up early. The goal was to get as much work done as productively as possible and efficiently as possible, especially when you're working the 9 to 5. Yeah. And realistically, like getting up early, sacrificing sleep, just wasn't the answer. And it's definitely not the answer when you're not in the 9 to 5 and you have complete freedom over your time. But I think it bleeds into so many people's lives, this rise and grind, get up early, sacrifice sleep. You know.
It doesn't make a lot of sense when you look at it objectively. Honestly, when I think about it, because one of my clients that I was talking to last week, he was talking about his sleep time, and he was going to bed at 10 p.m. And I said, but he was waking up at 8 a.m. sometimes, and he would struggle to go to bed at 10 p.m. because sometimes he was doing things on the weekend. It would be 11, 12 p.m. And I said, okay, what happens if you just go to bed at 11 and you just push your wake time forward by an hour? He's like, oh, I didn't realize you could do that. Yeah, that would be a good idea. And then we did that for a week. And then I was like, okay, how did it go? And it was like, yeah, good. But on the weekend, sometimes it would be a little bit later. I'd be pushing towards about 11:30. And I said, what happens if you go to bed at 12 every night? It's like, oh, I didn't realize you could do that. I think the best time to wake up is the earliest that you can wake up, where you get all of your sleep in that you possibly can, and you can do that every single day of the week, and there is going to be essentially zero reasons that you can't go to bed on time. Like if you know that on the weekend you're probably going to go to bed at 12 p.m., then why don't you just go to bed at 12 p.m. every single night of the week?
Yeah, because then you get the benefit of consistency. But I think there's this guilt that's just like default in everyone, that going to bed late is bad and getting up late is bad. And so like, yeah, it's this realization like, okay, yeah, I can just go to bed later if that's actually gonna, like when you look at it, like what are the outcomes gonna be of this decision? Like it's just gonna be better for you. You're gonna have more energy, better sleep, you're gonna perform better for your work. Makes no difference to anyone if you do your work between 5 a.m. and 2 p.m. or you start at midday and you work until 8 p.m. Like, it doesn't matter. All that matters is you get the work done, and you're going to get better quality work done with more sleep. But you really have to like shed this guilt of like going to bed later. And I think sometimes like the guilt is good if you have a 2 a.m. night where you're drunk out at a nightclub. It throws into contrast, okay, well, if I want to be consistent and get good sleep all the time, I have to be going to bed at the latest time I do throughout the week. So if that's 2 a.m., then that means every single night you should be going to bed at 2 a.m. because that's what you're going to have to shift to. And so it kind of brings into contrast maybe the one or two poor decisions that you're making in your week that are throwing off the 6 other days of sleep, and by means of that, the output of those 6 days.
Yeah, well, consistency is... I bought this thing called a Whoop, and this thing gives you very good data on sleep and tells you what's good for sleep and what's bad for sleep. And consistency continues to pop up as probably the most important variable, basically because it is going to improve your efficiency a lot. So the time you spend in bed is going to be a lot better spent because you're going to bed quicker and you're waking up a lot easier, and it's just more... I'm not sure what word you would use. Regimented, I suppose, yeah. But you're a lot more of a robot when it's like, okay, I go to bed at this time, and it's like, boom, head on pillow, sleep straight away, and then you can wake up. Because if your sleep's time is so disrupted, if you're going to bed at 2 a.m. and then 10 p.m. and then 9 and then 11, then your body doesn't really know when to go to bed. And so you might be lying in bed for an hour and not sleeping. And what is less productive than lying in bed for an hour and not sleeping, right? It's just all getting returns on your time. And if you have high quality consistency, if your consistency of your sleep is very, very strong, it means that the returns that you get on your time in your bed, I love the idea of getting better returns on your time. So the returns on your time that you spend in bed are better. And it also means that because you've slept better, you have more energy, you make better decisions, you're going to do the right things at high levels of energy throughout the day. It means that the returns that you get on your time in all other areas of your life get better. So it's just all returns on time. And it really came back to the consistency piece. And that's why I think that if you're waking up early and you're sacrificing your consistency as a consequence, you're getting worse returns on your time in every single other area of your life.
Yeah. I mean, you're spending at least 8 hours of the day you should be in your bed. Like, this is something that you want to get right. And like, this is why we found it just so important and key to everything else that we do. Like we were talking yesterday about, we feel like we can almost have everything that we want in life. And then we had to check ourselves and be like, no, you can have basically everything you want as long as you go to bed on time. Like, that is basically one of the key things that allow you to achieve basically everything else that you want. It's just getting this one thing right. And it's because you do it every day. It's 8 hours of your day, and it impacts all of your waking moments because it affects how you feel and how you function and your energy. And that's like, ultimately your energy is what you're applying to these inputs to get the outcomes you want. So you want to be maximizing that energy bar every day to be filling it up. And then ultimately you want to be depleting it every day. So then you're going to bed tired, you're sleeping well, you're getting good quality sleep. But yeah, consistency is just, I mean, yeah, the data just proves it. Like, and it makes sense biologically as well. Like, going to bed at the same time, you're just telling your body, like, this is when we go to bed, and then this is when we wake up. This is when we go to bed, this is when we wake up. And so it knows, okay, it knows what time it is, like biologically, and it wants to fall asleep. And so then you fall asleep quicker. And so then you get better quality sleep. And then it just all flows on from there.
Yeah, I want to come back to what you said about you can have everything if you get your sleep right. Because we were listening to a guy that we look up to. We agree with a lot of what he says, but one of the things he said is, like, very vehemently, you can't have everything. And in fact, it was almost like you can have almost nothing but a few things, and you have to hyperfixate over a few things. And I think that was one thing that we both disagreed on, because we thought you actually can have everything if you can master your time and utilize your time effectively. And we really thought about it, and we thought, okay, other than Boolean things that are either yes or no, right? You either have kids or you don't. You either have a wife or a girlfriend or you're single. Other than these things that are either yes or no, you can have almost anything, but there's a few things that you have to sacrifice. And one of those things was getting poor quality sleep, right? Like staying up late. One of those things was drinking for us. It was like, okay, one of the reasons for that is that drinking is horrendous for your sleep, right? But it was really like, okay, if you can get your sleep really, really on point, and of course, all this comes down from using your time effectively, there are very few things that you can't achieve that are off the limits. You can almost achieve anything if you get the sleep right.
Yeah, as long as because then you can just apply the 80-20 principle to the rest of life and achieve so much. But I mean, there's probably a lot of people out there listening to this right now that aren't getting 8 hours of quality sleep every night and are missing the 80-20s that are going to get them there. What are they?
Real quick, if you're an online entrepreneur and you want to grow your business faster without spending all day at the desk, then you can check out the Modern Monk community for free. I'll leave a link in the description below. For everyone else, keep enjoying the podcast. Yeah, so this is the thing with almost everything. It's like you need to be reminded before you need to be taught, right? You probably heard this 1,000 times, but if you're not doing these things, then nothing else matters. Because these are going to give you better returns than anything else you're doing. Like, first of all, getting 7 to 9 hours of sleep. That is just a non-negotiable. If you're not doing that, then everything else is going to be terrible. Sleep consistency. If you're not going to bed at very, very similar times every single day,
Quality decrease.
Quality's going down big time, right? You're spending a lot of time in bed, not sleeping. It's all over the place, right? Next one is in terms of your sleep environment. I think everyone knows this. Cold, dark, and quiet room, right? Have your room cold, dark, and quiet. Yeah, that's it.
Let me check my notes.
Yeah, am I missing? Yeah, am I missing anything? No. It's like just do that, but actually do it.
Yeah.
Actually go to bed 7 to 9 hours every single night. Actually go to bed at the same time every single night. Actually have a cold, dark, and quiet room. And I guarantee you're not going to be saying my sleep sucks.
Yeah. And all of these things are within your control. Like there's no pointing the finger here that you can't be doing these 3 things. Like going to bed at the same time every night is a decision you make. And like I think it's so important that you set a bedtime alarm. Is way more important than setting your wake up alarm, because going to bed at the same time means you can get the 7 to 9 hours and you'll naturally wake up if you do it consistently. But that is just within your control. It's really just saying no to social pressure and opportunities that take you. So they keep you up late at night. Yeah. And I think it's really just reminding yourself that sleep is the priority, because it impacts everything else in your life, everything else in your day that you're trying to achieve, all of the inputs that are working towards your goals. Like sleep is like the multiplier. So I think it takes a lot of time to build up remind yourself that it is the priority and actually protect it, because there's a lot of social pressure to go out and stay up and disregard your sleep to enjoy doing what other people want to do, and to align yourself with people who maybe aren't respecting their sleep as much. But yeah, going to bed on time and saying no to opportunities, it's the first step. Getting to bed on time at the same time every night.
Yeah. Do you remember one of the big things that you said, when I quit my 9 to 5 job, I can't wait to be able to do this? Do you remember what that was?
Yeah, I said, I can't wait to wake up without an alarm. Like, because I had spent so long waking up at 5 a.m. to an alarm, getting less than 7 hours sleep. And I knew that as soon as I quit my job, I could just maximize my sleep and I could get up whenever because I could do the work whenever. And like, I knew how good that was going to feel. And it feels even better than I thought it was. Like being able to do that consistently, go to bed at the same time and just wake up feeling refreshed and naturally feeling really awake is just a beautiful gift.
I think as business owners, before we get into business, we have all of these things that we want to get out of business, specifically owning our own business. Time freedom, location freedom, being able to wake up when you want. These are all things that we want. And oftentimes, as entrepreneurs, we get to the point where we can have these things, but we don't do them. And it's like, why? Why aren't you doing this? You can wake up whenever you want. So why are you still waking up at 5 a.m.? Right? You can be working on your business 4 hours a day. If you're working effectively, why are you spending 12 hours a day at the desk? You could be living wherever you want in the world. Why are you still stuck in your hometown in this really expensive place with poor weather? Why are you doing these things? Why did you get into entrepreneurship in the first place? Of course there's impact, and you're going to have that regardless of whether you wake up early or wake up late, whether you have all of this time and location freedom or not. But we go into these things and we have these goals, and then very quickly we forget about them because we maybe see other people and we go, okay, I just got to do what he's doing.
Yeah, and I think it comes back to one of my favorite topics, which is just taking action towards fear. Because a lot of the time it's just fear of change or making some big decision. And like when you have a lot of fear, you're much more likely to not take action. And so you don't make the change. And so even though you have all these opportunities, you have all this potential that you've realized, you've become a business owner, you can have location freedom, time freedom, wake up when you want. You're not actualizing any of that potential, any of those opportunities, because you're not actually taking action and committing to making them a reality, like doing the inputs that it requires, like, you know, leaving your hometown, traveling across the world, whatever the other two are.
Waking up whenever you want.
Yeah, but just like making that decision. Like, and I think it really is just taking action. And I think what we've been able to do so well is create these 2-month periods where there's a big change every 2 months. We move countries, and so we get to reset physical environment, like mental frames, everything. It's a big shift, and I think these are the periods where you can easily make change, where there's less fear involved. It's easier to take action to implement these things where you can actually actualize the potential of time freedom, location freedom, sleep time. Like if some big event happens, like that is the time to make all of these changes, because you're in this period where there's less friction with change, there's less fear. You can take the action.
Yeah, well, that's been one of the huge benefits we've had of traveling and moving around, is just these constant resets. And these are just chances for us to go through these feedback cycles of seeing what worked and what didn't work. Recently, and this happened really halfway through, we're living in Mexico City now. And we, for the first month here, we were waking up at 6 a.m. because we went, okay, I want to be up when the sun's up. I want to have the most time throughout the day when the sun is up, which is, I get that. That makes sense. But a lot of those nights, we would go to bed a bit later than 8 p.m., 9 p.m., and then you get up a bit later than 6. And then it starts being like 6:30 and then 7, and then it starts all changing and moving around. And we thought, okay, why don't we just wake up at 8? What happens if we do that? And we did that, and it was like, what a light bulb moment. How great has this been? But yeah, making these small changes, and for us, being able to move to different places and have these big environment resets is just a chance to look back at what worked and what didn't work and change. And for us, we were in Buenos Aires for 2 months, and we looked at that, and one of the big things that we changed is specifically with our relationships, they were having an impact over our sleep. They were bleeding into, okay, this is bedtime. And while we were trying to be, okay, this is my bedtime, it wasn't extremely strict. And now moving here, it's like, okay, this is the bedtime. Nothing comes nothing. We will never sacrifice anything for this. This is the one thing that we do and we don't sacrifice. So that was a big thing. And now we've just seen that, okay, if I can just go to wake up a little bit later, I can push my bedtime a bit later, then I don't have to have these hard conversations all the time. I don't have to constantly say no to everyone for all these social events. I think these were the two big ones that we've gone through recently related to our sleep, that we've upgraded and improved and just made everything work a little bit better.
Yeah, and I think they still go hand in hand. Like you still need to be able to say no to the opportunities that are going to push past your bedtime and wreck your sleep consistency. But you're an entrepreneur, you can be flexible about when you set that hard line. Like the hard line is I don't stay up past this time. But you get to decide what this time is. And so like, what's valuable to us is like, having cool experiences out in Mexico City while we're here. But like what's not that interesting to either of us or what we want to do is like go out and go clubbing. So like you can set like 10 p.m., 11 p.m., you get all of the cool experiences into the night. And then when everyone heads to the club, you're just like, all right, well, I'm going to bed now. That doesn't really interest me. So you get everything that you want to do and you still get to set the hard line and get the benefits of the sleep consistency on the other side.
Yeah, it was a huge 80-20 is, okay, we get all the fun stuff at the start of the night and then we don't get all of the regrets and all the mistakes and all the really expensive things that happen after 11 p.m. That was a huge one. But I think being able to say no and really respecting your sleep time is something that people have a hard time doing because not a lot of people do respect their sleep time. And as a consequence, that bleeds over. It's very hard to say to someone who just doesn't care about what time they go to bed, sorry, I'm not going to go out with you. I'm not going to do this thing that sounds amazing and really fun because I've got to sleep. For them, that sounds crazy. That sounds completely insane. But that's because they're not correctly valuing their sleep. But I think the more that we place value in our sleep, just like the more we place value in our time, the more you respect it and the more ruthless you are with who can take it. And for us, it's like no one. No one can take this sleep time. This is when I go to bed. No one is going to sacrifice that. Just the same with how we value our time. There's very few people that you are going to sacrifice some level of the behaviors that you do throughout the day for them because your time is extremely valuable.
Yeah, and like I'm going to go back to the point I made about making changes in chaotic periods. Like there was the quote that we kept coming up, like never waste chaos or never waste a tragedy or something. But basically, if you're in a period where your girlfriend's broken up with you, or you kicked out of your mum's house, or you just got fired from your job. You're in this period of chaos where like everything's changing, like there's no routine. You have the opportunity to like set new standards, to make these big changes without having to go through the pain of pushing past all this uncertainty and taking action towards the fear. And so I think you need to use those periods to like realign your priorities, and sleep basically has to be number one if you want to achieve anything big and meaningful in life, because you're going to need to get great outputs on your time when you're awake. What's the requirement for that is getting great sleep. Like I remember for me, when I went through a big breakup and I was like homeless for a little period, I had no routine. It was really easy for me to be like, okay, well, what's important to me? What do I want to get done? All of these things. Okay, well, I'm going to need to be able to sleep to be able to action all of these things. Well, I can just completely change my routine, like because there is no routine in that moment. And so I think a lot of people go through these big chaotic life events, I think waste the opportunity in improving their lives.
That's a good point. It doesn't necessarily have to be that you change your physical location. It's more that some big event happens that changes your life in one way or the other that you can't control. But then you look, okay, now that everything is changing, let me change everything for the better. Like, let me change everything that needs to change to become the person that I want to become. And using whatever opportunity you have, it might not be you traveling to a different country, but as you said, it might be breaking up with your girlfriend. It might be quitting your job, whatever it may be. These are great chances to completely change who you are.
And it also helps with how other people see you, because they'll probably know and understand that something has happened. So they'll have some reason in the back of the head of why you're acting different. So there'll be less resentment to like, oh, this is a different behavior from you. Like, this is a different choice you're making. Like, there'll be less pressure onto why, and you'll get, I think, a bit more acceptance on that. But even still, you're not going to get full acceptance. No one's going to just be like, oh, you probably have people in your lives that don't value the same things you do or don't want the best for you. And realistically, you should be trying to cut those people out. But that's a very difficult thing to do. So I think standing up for what you believe in, which should be sleep as priority number one, means saying no to those people sometimes.
Yeah. It just shows how much you value your goals. It means that you value your goals more than going out. It means you value more than any other thing than your goals. Your goal is your number one priority. And as business owners, the goal is the business, is growing the business. That is the North Star. So you act as if it is the North Star. If you truly believe that your business is your number one priority, and you truly believe that if I sleep better, if I get high quality sleep, then my output will improve. The returns I get on my time will be better. So I will grow my business faster. Then every time you sacrifice your sleep, you're saying whatever you've sacrificed your sleep for is more valuable, is more of a priority than my goal, than my business. It's not about intentions. It's not, okay, I think my business is my number one priority. I believe that. It's how do you behave? And if you're constantly taking a behavior that says the complete opposite, then you don't truly value your business as your number one. And this is why when we think about the freedom that we get, it's like North Star. You do everything required to move your business forward. Maybe you have some side quests. I really consider this part of freedom because you choose to do these. Whole back end of the day is freedom until it's time for bed. That's when freedom ends. Because when freedom pushes past that, then whatever else you're doing is now taking priority over your business. And this always remains a number one.
Yeah. Your actions speak louder than your words, and they identify where you're placing your value. I mean, we've been talking a lot about how much we care about sleep. Tell me what your sleep's been like for the past 2 years.
Yeah, well, you spoke about having a life moment or some sort of big event change your behaviors.
Change.
So this for me was quitting my job. And I was like, all right, well, I need to become a very, very different person if I want to live the kind of life I want to live. And one of those things was getting the sleep right. And so for the last 2 years, according to Whoop, I've been able to average over an 85 sleep score, which is not the easiest thing to do. Whoop's quite a harsh judge of your sleep. And this is not just me being the professional sleeper. Like, I've been running a business while doing this. I've been running marathons. I've been, trying to get in good shape. I've been learning languages. I've been traveling the world. We've been living out of an Airbnb for the last 4 months, multiple Airbnbs, changing time zones. So there's a lot of things that could have impacted sleep, but it remained the number one priority. And I think that just shows, based on my actions, that I value it very highly. And that's the differentiator, is you can believe that sleep is good for you, but do you act like it?
Yeah, and like when you were in Melbourne, there were opportunities to go out drinking and stay up late multiple times per week. You then moved to Buenos Aires, a city known for partying and who have coffees at 6 p.m. and go to the club at midnight until 8 a.m. That was available and an option to you. And now you're in Mexico City for the World Cup, where there's people partying in the streets on a Wednesday until 6 a.m. Like, it's not like you were void of opportunities. And it was just like, oh yeah, I had nothing better to do than sleep. It was an active decision.
Yeah, we went to probably the place with the number one late night culture in the world. Yeah. Like, Buenos Aires is crazy. Everyone drinks matcha, which is not matcha, mate, yeah, which is it kind of looks like a bong, and it's this glass vessel, like a cup, and at the top they have this green powder, and then you drink it out of this metal straw. And it's very heavily caffeinated. And it's like, it's time for matcha. It's 5 p.m. Sorry, I keep saying matcha. They look similar and they taste kind of similar. But it's like, 5 p.m., time for the mate. And it's like, okay, finish dinner. Time for a coffee.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, 80-20, not drinking caffeine like 2 hours before bed. Probably not an 80-20 whatsoever to do that. That's going to destroy your sleep. But yeah, we were in some real late night cultures, but the behaviors said that sleep is the number one priority. And I talk about what I did, but you've been doing the exact same thing.
Yeah, and I come back to like doing what's in your control. And maybe you're thinking like, oh, but I'm in a really loud environment. Oh, but my curtains are terrible. My room's really light. It's like, no, this is still within your control. Like, I know I sleep with a Garmin, which is a little bit more favorable than Whoop sleep scores, but yeah, I've been able to average above 80 since I quit my job as well. And I didn't have the best room for sleep. Like, I had blinds, not curtains, so I had lots of light leaking in. I was right next to like the M2, like one of the highways in Melbourne, really loud. But sleep was really important to me. So I learned to sleep with an eye mask, and I learned to sleep with earplugs in, and I learned to sleep with brown noise playing over the earplugs, because dark, cold, and quiet was what was needed to get the good quality sleep. And like, these are just little things that you can add to improve your sleep, and knowing how much of an impact it has on the rest of your life and the enjoyment of life Why would you not?
Why would you not? We spoke about the 80/20s, but I want to go through everything you do because we both do things that are potentially a little bit outside of the 80/20s. They contribute, but they wouldn't be entirely 80/20s. But if someone was thinking, how do I get the best quality sleep? What are the few things that I can do that I can bring with me anywhere and replicate in any environment to get high quality sleep? What would that be?
Yeah. Well, let's start with the physical, like your room. So cold, dark, and quiet. Cold, try and have a warm shower like an hour before bed. That's going to raise your body temperature an hour before bed. So it's naturally going to be trying to cool you down as you're actually getting in bed, which is what you want. You want your body to be cool and trying to cool itself. Dark, again, it's just an eye mask. I get a good quality eye mask that has some sort of padding around the eyes, whether that's individual or the whole mask. And that'll basically be light blocking literally wherever you go. You can sleep in a extremely well-lit airport, as we've both experienced. Lima Airport, great lighting. Dark, yeah, eye mask is such a simple one. It's like $10 on Amazon. And quiet, like earplugs and some sort of, I prefer brown noise. I think you're a pink noise guy, so choose whatever color of noise works best for you, or a fan. Earplugs in and a low-level speaker, you will not be able to hear any road noise. You won't be able to hear any robbers that break into your house. Like, nothing will disrupt your sleep. You're placing the quality on it. So that's, for me, the room, cold, dark, and quiet. That's how you get definitely the 80/20s on those. Then everything before bed is really just about reducing my heart rate. So I schedule my day so my exercise ends at least a couple of hours before bed. I don't want to be hyped up, just come back from a workout, doing heavy lifts, trying to go to bed. You need your heart rate as low as possible. Stimulants, caffeine, nicotine, whatever you're taking, even like black tea, things like this, like with little bits of caffeine, you want to be avoiding like ideally 8 hours before bed, because that's just going to improve the quality. Light exposure pre-bed, you want to ideally have as little light as possible. So you could turn all the lights off in your house and go by candlelight, and that would be extremely difficult. Or you could just wear red light glasses that blocks all the blue light and also just lowers the amount of total light that's getting into your eyes before bed.
And just turn off the overheads and just use lamps instead.
Turn off the overheads. Yeah, but really, and then it's just like getting to bed on time. But it's really just getting my heart rate down, reducing the amount of light exposure pre-bed, and then doing the eye mask, earplugs, white or brown noise. Yeah, the shower an hour before. It's really not a lot, and they're really easy things to implement, but they've had a drastic quality improvement on my sleep and allowed me to do it consistently.
So a few of these things that you mentioned, the eye mask, the earplugs, and the brown/pink/gray/orange noise, all of this is probably going to be something that will reduce the quality of your sleep for a night or two while you get used to it. But then afterwards, it's here with me forever, and I can basically bring it anywhere I want. And I mean anywhere. So coming to Mexico City, we flew through Lima Airport, and we had a lovely stop off for 8 or 9 hours. Middle of the night, so what do? You go to sleep. There weren't any benches without dividers in the middle, so we couldn't lie on a bench. There were no couches, so what is our best option here? Well, we got to lie on the concrete floor. It's like, okay, not fantastic. What about this environment can we control? Well, we have our eye mask, so we can, despite the fact that we have, dental surgery level lighting coming over our head and just blinding us, cool, let me chuck on the eye mask. I'm going to reduce the light exposure. I can chuck my earplugs in so I can't hear the trolleys coming around wheeling like 50 wheelchairs. I can have, we had a Spotify jam going between the two of us, and we had our headphones over the top of our earplugs. We have over the ear headphones, and it was playing brown noise. So we emulated what we could, the best we could. But if we weren't used to an eye mask, if we weren't used to earplugs, if we weren't used to brown noise, then you're lying on a concrete floor in Lima Airport looking at the blinding lights as you hear the sirens go by. So we did the best with what we could, but a lot of these things are transportable, which means that you can create a pretty decent sleep environment no matter where you go. And that's why I'm a big fan of it, because you can get the best blackout curtains in the world. You can get well, you can live in somewhere that there's just zero noise and you can hear a pin drop. Fantastic. But as soon as you're outside that environment and everything changes, you're in a bit of trouble. But if you can bring things that can create a consistent environment no matter where you go, it allows you to have decent sleep wherever you are. You don't want to be fragile. Like,
That's exactly what I was going to say. Fragility is the enemy here. And it's the same with your bedtime. You don't want to have a bedtime that's too early that's completely fragile to the once in a fortnight opportunity that you do say yes to. And it's the same with, your environment. You don't want to need a freaking sleep pod 5 and the best blackout curtains to be able to fall asleep. You want to be able to, especially like if you're an entrepreneur and you want to have location freedom, or you're just someone who likes to travel and even go on holidays, you're going to be in different environments. And so you're going to want to be able to maintain good sleep wherever you are.
Yes. Yeah, if you want to live in all these different countries and experience all these different places, fantastic. But if you need a mattress that can change your core body temperature and heat and cool over time throughout the night, and you don't have that and it's going to destroy your sleep, you're in a bit of trouble. But I mentioned that I was able to maintain very high sleep scores. My sleep's been some of the best it's ever been, sleeping out of Airbnbs, constantly changing time zones every few months. And it's still been really good because you lose the fragility when you can have a few pieces that you can bring with you wherever you go. And it's just going to allow you to have very, very high quality sleep regardless.
Yeah, and a lot of that reducing the fragility comes from stopping the weird bedtime routines that take 2 hours and need to be very specific, that are having maybe 1%, less than 5% benefit to your sleep. If it's, I need to do a 30-minute meditation, then I write in my journal, then I go and brush my teeth, then I go and
do a sauna.
do a sauna, and then and then I take some potion.
Yeah, I take my melatonin pills and my magnesium, and
then that's just time and a lot of things that you need to have to be able to do that consistently. And so that's just going to increase your fragility and reduce your consistency. And so that's going to have a way worse output on your sleep. And if you're thinking about this long term, you want to sleep really good every night of the year, ideally. And so having one really, really poor sleep throws you off for at least a week. And so you're trying to reduce those and keep everything as consistent so you can have as high quality for as long as possible. And so just think carefully about what you're actually implementing, because usually subtraction is required first.
A subtraction is required for almost everything. I look at subtraction in so many areas of my life. I mean, one of the greatest things I've ever done for myself was subtracting online entertainment, because wow, now I have all of this time back. I have all of this attention back. Didn't add anything. I just removed a lot. A lot of this stuff is subtraction, not addition. And addition creates fragility. Addition really creates fragility. It makes you superstitious on things. It's not helpful at all. So the least things that are required for you to perform optimally, the better.
Yeah, the 80-20s. But I mean, there's definitely this idea that, kind of coming back to what we started on, that sleeping for a long time makes you a lazy person. I think this is an idea that spreads across cultures and domains and periods of life. Why do you think it is that people associate sleeping for a long time with being lazy?
It's a good question, because sleep makes you the least lazy version of yourself. If you get really, really good sleep, if you go to bed at the same time every single day, and you just sleep until you wake up for as long as you possibly can, you're going to be the least lazy version of yourself. You're going to have more energy. You're going to make better decisions, which means you're going to be doing less lazy things. When I think about the most lazy people, they're the sleep-deprived people. They're the people that go to bed really late and they're scrolling their phone up late, and then they have to wake up to an alarm, and then they wake up, no energy. They have brain fog. They're not operating correctly. A lack of sleep is what creates laziness, not a lot of sleep. A lot of sleep is the least lazy thing that you can possibly do. I think the reason that people associate sleep with laziness is because sleep is essentially doing nothing, right? So, cool, the act itself is doing nothing. But in of doing nothing, you get everything.
Yeah. And I think, like what you said, it's the people who, they're productive for 3 days in a row, getting 5 hours of sleep, head against the grindstone, push, push, push. and then they sleep for 12 hours because they're completely sleep deprived and burnt out. And then they go, oh, like I was lazy that day because, I slept a lot and then woke up groggy and felt really bad. But really that's just, you're just paying the debt of having poor sleep earlier. And the way it appears is, oh, I slept really long and then I was also lazy because the quality was low and because it wasn't consistent, it wasn't in the routine. And so it gets slapped with this label of like sleeping for a long time makes you lazy. But it's really like you're only sleeping for a long time and then being unproductive because you were not sleeping enough and then like using all of your willpower to be productive for a few days.
When I see someone who visibly looks tired and they go, oh, I'm tired, I just think, why? Why are you tired? You've chosen to be tired because you don't have to be tired. Realistically, you can live essentially your entire life not being tired, except for the few hours before bed where your brain goes, yeah, I go to bed at this time every single day, so now I'll be tired. But being tired is a choice, and it's a choice that you make generally by just getting poor quality sleep. And for most people, for the average person, it is making lazy decisions. And when I say lazy decisions, I mean that you're lying in bed scrolling, or you're up late clubbing, or you're doing something that destroys your sleep. And then you get a really short sleep one night, and then you have sleep debt, and then maybe you have a huge sleep to catch up. But I'm tired is not something that you ever have to feel if you can just consistently get good sleep.
Yeah. I think another reason why sleep gets this a lot of sleeping for a long time gets the label of being lazy is because people have these really strict timelines for exactly what their morning's going to look like. I'm going to get up at 7 a.m. At 7:30, I'm going to have finished breakfast and I'm going to start my first task for the day, which is writing 10 emails. Then I'm going to go for a walk and I'm going to come back and I'm going to start on task 2. And that'll be at 7:47. And they have this like very regimented, they've written it out the night before. This is exactly how it's going to work. And then you hit snooze twice and you get up at 7:15 and you let perfect get in the way of good and it all just goes down the drain. And you go, oh, sleeping long was bad. I'm lazy. I didn't do what I said I was going to do. But like take a step back. The reality is you still could have done everything you needed to and you probably would have had more energy to if you just let yourself wake up naturally with a bit more sleep. But I think people let perfect get in the way of good with their morning routines and they let a little bit of a sleep in just ruin a day.
Yeah, well, with morning routines, the way people usually set it up is I do this and I do this and I do this and I do this, which is great, no problem with that. But they go, I do this at this time. And then when that time comes around, you haven't done this. Well, yeah, I guess I'll start it again tomorrow. I mean, yeah, it's all out the window now. So I may as well just, I'll start again the next time and I'll get it right. It's just a chain of events that you do. It doesn't really matter when you start. It's more that you get them done. And this comes back to the start of the podcast when we were talking about how is sleeping, what was the question? Should you wake up early? Yeah, if you wake up early, are you more productive or not? And the reality is it has nothing to do with whether you wake up early or whether you wake up late. It's more the set of actions that you do. It doesn't matter when these happen. But if these set of actions have to happen at a certain time and you sleeping in means that you get none of them done, that is why we associate sleeping in with being bad.
Yeah, it's just more fragility. Like if you're associating a time to it, then there's only 1 minute where you can start it and be on schedule and tick the box and pat yourself on the back. In reality, all you're doing is making it harder for you to actually do the inputs that are going to progress you to where you want to go.
Should we be thinking about our sleep as a business decision?
100%. Like just take a step back and think about, okay, what do I need to progress my business to my goal? I need to complete this set of inputs as consistently as possible over a long period of time. I need to take these actions. Okay, that's what we're optimizing for. How are you going to get better returns on spending your time taking these actions? And how are you going to be able to take these actions consistently again and again? Well, you're going to need to put yourself in the position where you want to do those actions as much as possible. And when you're doing them, you have the energy, you have the capability to execute to the best of your ability. How do you do that? Is you wake up fully rested. So going to bed is the first business decision you make every day, and you make it the night before. And it's probably the most important one because it affects how you feel and what you do during the day. Like all of your actions, all of your inputs, they're all under the umbrella of how did you feel, how did you sleep, how much energy do you have, how much force can you exert today is based on how much you refilled your energy bar the night before.
I like that idea that you getting a high quality sleep or your sleep is the first business decision that you make every single day. It's also the last business decision you make every single day. I think maybe a helpful way of thinking about this for people is, what does the inverse of this look like? What happens if I wake up every day and I'm tired and I'm sleep deprived? Okay, well, I'm going to wake up and I'm going to be a bit foggy, like I'm going to have a bit of brain fog. My motivation is low. I'm probably not going to want to do anything. I have a lot of friction and a lot of forces working against me and making it harder to take action. And as you said, action is what moves us forwards. How do we get the best returns on our time? Well, we have the most energy. We do the right tasks, but assuming that you're doing the right tasks, it's how efficiently can you do those tasks? And if you have better brain function, if you're making better decisions, then these tasks are so much easier to do. If you wake up with fog, if you wake up feeling really tired, you look at what you have to do for the day, you probably say, I don't want to do it, and you probably don't do it. If you do it, you come in there, you have low energy, you get poor returns on your time, and what happened? Well, you got less done. Even if you did every single task that you were supposed to do, you're getting less out of the time that you put into those tasks. And the reality is you're probably not doing all those tasks because you have less momentum, you have less energy. So if you look at it in the inverse, well, clearly being tired and getting poor quality sleep is a really poor decision for my business. So then let's flip it. Okay, well, if I had a huge amount of energy, if I felt really good, if I had peak cognitive function, well, it's going to do the opposite. I'm going to get great returns on my time. I'm going to do the right activities. I'm not going to shy away from the challenges. Everything is better. Everything is better as a consequence of doing that right. And yeah, it's definitely a business decision.
Yeah. And I think about the actions that you're usually taking for your business. They usually require a certain level of concentration and focus. Like it's not just go for a walk. That's not, it's something that, requires mental cognition. And I'm thinking about, we grew up in Australia. It's a big place. It takes a long time to drive between places. Like, why do you think that they have these signs that say, are you tired? Take a power nap, pull over, again and again and again on these long roads? And it's because tiredness just reduces your ability to perform. It makes you make worse decisions. You're more likely to fall asleep at the wheel. Like you're driving your business every day. If you're tired, you're going to fall asleep at the wheel. You're more likely to make a bad decision. And you're just at more risk because you're tired. You're like the same reason you're at risk driving tired. Like they've identified that as one of the key causes of accidents, of people dying, is driving tired. It's almost worse than drink driving. Not that I'm saying you should drink drive, but there's a reason that they're plastered everywhere on all of the long roads across Australia is, are you tired? Take a power nap, is because you perform better when you're well rested. And just think about it like you're driving your business every day. Are you going to fall asleep at the wheel?
I like that analogy. And in the context of driving your business, if you drive a car and crash, you die. How does your business die? You quit. What is likely to happen if you are really tired, you're really unmotivated, you feel pretty trash? Well, you're probably going to think this is overwhelming, this is challenging. That by itself might make you want to quit. You might look at a shiny object and go, this is a better option, I want to pursue this. You look at all these things, you might look at a different way of generating leads or a different way of fulfilling your product. You look at all these things and you go, well, maybe I should do this. And it's really because you're more susceptible to change because you feel like you're looking for an easy solution.
You're trying to find the shortcut.
Yeah.
You're going to be way more likely to look for the shortcut if you're tired. You feel like you can't even do the bare minimum, then you're going to look for shortcuts, and that's going to kill your business. Not being able to just put in the hard work and do the same actions consistently without being rewarded. Like you're less likely to be able to do that when you're tired. You're going to look for a shortcut, and then you're going to waste your time trying to chase like quick wins and shortcuts because you're not sleeping well.
I would love to see if people could track when they made certain decisions and certain things in their business. They don't, okay, I changed here. This was a great decision. This killed me. This was a shocker. I can't believe I was even thinking about that. And then they have some sort of wearable and they go back and they go, oh, well, that day I had a 35 sleep score and I was hungover. Oh, I made a terrible decision that day. Oh, I was thinking about quitting here. Yeah, the sleep sucked. Well, I made a really good decision today. I really progressed the business forward. Yeah, I had a really good sleep there. Most of your days, whether it is you progressing forward and making good decisions or just your subjective well-being of the day, very correlated with your sleep.
Yeah, and I mean, subjective well-being is something we haven't really touched on yet, but sleep, oh my God, does it have an impact on your subjective well-being? Like waking up, like getting out of bed when you feel well rested compared to getting out of bed with 4 hours of sleep debt, like worlds apart. And it just trickles through the rest of your day. Like is how you feel has a big impact on your experience of life. Like you have a certain amount that's fixed, that you need to progress your business. You want to take, a certain amount of exercise. You have certain commitments you want to do. But ultimately, how tired you are reduces how good you feel when you do any of those things. And so even if you've crafted a life where you're doing all the things that you think you love to do, if you're doing them all tired, you're not going to feel like you live a great life or you enjoy your life at all. Like it really is just like a negative multiplier if you're tired.
That's so true. Subjective well-being goes down big time. I'm pretty sure there's a statistic that I heard and then I searched up and I was like, this doesn't exist, but I like it anyway. And that was an extra hour and a half of sleep a night, which is essentially now the REM cycle, does more for your subjective well-being than adding another $100,000 a year to what you earn after you're earning like $80,000 a year. Like it had a huge difference on subjective well-being. When we think about what we're doing about as business owners, when we think about what we're doing in terms of achieving excellence in different domains of our life, what we're doing is we're really trying to improve the enjoyment of our life, improve the experiences. But high quality sleep is like having the rose-colored glasses on life. It just makes everything a little bit brighter, everything a little bit more enjoyable. And then on the opposite side of things, if you get terrible quality sleep, it's like wearing sunglasses all day. Everything's a little bit darker. Everything is a little bit less enjoyable.
Yeah, and we had a whole podcast talking about bringing your goals into reality, into right now, like living your dream while you chase it. And like good quality sleep, if it improves your subjective well-being so much, is one of the best things you can do to just bring your dream life into reality right now. You can start getting good sleep right now. It'll drastically improve how you feel throughout the day and the progress you make in your business.
Yeah, that's so true. I think one of the big things that high quality sleep does is it reduces your anxiety. I think anxiety is one of the big reasons that we don't enjoy life as much, is that we have this background hum of anxiety and we think, there's something that is going wrong right now. So, for example, recently I stopped consuming caffeine whatsoever. We ran through a few situations and basically I thought, okay, I want to have a similar level of energy all day. So what would happen if I just removed caffeine completely is I would have more stable energy throughout the day. So that was the real reason why I decided to stop using caffeine. After about a week, what I noticed was my anxiety went down a lot. My anxiety reduced significantly. And what I realized that meant is that my subjective well-being was so much higher. I actually enjoyed life a lot more. I found myself laughing more. I found myself smiling more, enjoying the little moments. And this was all from having a lot less anxiety. And what's one of the best ways to reduce your anxiety? Don't be tired. Have high quality sleep. As you said, like if you could sell sleep in a pill, it would be the highest selling pill in the world.
Yeah, it would be the best drug that everyone wanted to buy. It would jump off the shelves. Yeah, but I mean, caffeine's a multiplier of the negative effects of poor sleep as well. Because reality is, if you sleep poorly, what are you reaching for first thing in the morning? It's stimulant, it's caffeine. So then not only do you sleep poorly, but then you get a spike of caffeine and you're highly anxious for a short period of time. You get like a little boost of energy and then you dip even further down into the despair of being completely tired and shattered. Like it's like a band-aid that just makes your entire situation worse. And if you're relying on it day after day, because you're sleeping poorly, all you're doing is creating this monster where you rely on caffeine, decreases your subjective well-being throughout the day, and decreases your ability to sleep well the next night.
We tracked the lives of a few Argentinians throughout our journey. And this was the life of an Argentinian, was go to bed at 1, 2 a.m., wake up at 8, 7. So, boy, we're looking at 5, 6 hours of sleep there, assuming that you're actually sleeping that whole time and you didn't destroy your sleep, which, as I'll get to, you probably were. Wake up, smash a coffee. Okay, gotta have a coffee. And then maybe you smoke a couple cigarettes throughout the day, another coffee. Okay, it's 5 p.m. Mate time. Time to drink some mate. Let me have dinner. Okay, what do I have after dinner? Let me have a nice warm drink. Let me have a black coffee. Whew. It's just constantly trying to compensate for terrible quality sleep with all this caffeine. I think about those people and I think about what they must feel mentally. It must be just horrible. Just a horrible way of living. Like, your anxiety, stress must be so insanely high. Poor quality sleep plus caffeine. One of the things I didn't mention is the real decision that I came to for why I wanted to remove caffeine that you mentioned to me was that I am doing a set of actions every single day that gets me the best return on my time to move my business forward the fastest. Taking caffeine for most people helps them take a set of actions. I was taking those actions anyway. So the caffeine is actually doing nothing for me. So that was a big reason why I just went, okay, well, there's probably better ways of changing my behavior than consuming a stimulant that's making me anxious and is decreasing the quality of my sleep. I mean, it's not for everyone to go caffeine free, but I must say it was a good thing that I did, for sure.
Yeah, and it's another example, a reminder of people not doing the 80-20, like not actually solving the core issue, not making the easy change that's going to have the best outcome for the least amount of work. It's like, no, let me live through having to have a coffee every 3 hours instead of just like sleeping longer and fixing my sleep. Like, there's all these band-aids that people try and put on it when reality is you just need to get good quality sleep consistently.
So one of the things that we like doing at the end of these podcasts is we like having a set of actions for people to take, because nothing about your life changes if you don't change your behaviors. So if someone's listening to this and they go, okay, well, clearly getting high quality sleep is going to be a good decision for my business. It's going to be a good decision for my subjective well-being, general life. What would you be doing right now?
Yeah, nothing changes if nothing changes. What would I be doing? Control the controllables. Eye mask, earplugs and speaker, red light glasses would be my recommendation, or just, not a lot of light before bed. Just get those 3 right. That's completely within your control. Really cheap things to buy. They'll reduce your fragility. They'll increase your quality of sleep. Number 2 would be set a bedtime alarm. Go to bed at the same time every night. Make that your goal instead of waking up at the same time every day. The goal is get to bed at the same time every day. And then if you're lucky enough where you don't have a person that you have to go and please at a certain time every morning, you can just let yourself wake up naturally. And if you go to bed at the same time every night, you're going to start waking up at the same time every night. And so then you can get the benefits of being able to plan things at specific times in the morning. That's number 2. Bedtime alarm, more important than wake up alarm. Number 3, start explaining and reminding yourself that sleep is your priority. And especially when those opportunities come up where you're forced to make that decision, just make the right decision. Prioritize your sleep. Like, it only gets easier as you become known for the person who goes to bed early. And like, identify with that. I go to bed early. There might be like a little bit of friction at the beginning, but the payoff, as we've talked about for probably an hour here, is well worth it. So eye mask, earplug, red light glasses, brown noise. Easy implementation. The bedtime alarm. And identify as the person who goes to bed early. Remind yourself. Tell your friends.
What I would add to that is, and I think this goes before everything else, is choose your bedtime wisely. I think this is a mistake that most people make, is they choose a bedtime that they keep missing. When are you usually going to bed the latest throughout the week that is a consequence of an unavoidable action? Like I'm out with certain people and this happens every single week. Now, if this is I'm at a nightclub at 4 a.m., then first of all, stop doing that because that's not going to be great for your sleep. But let's say at 11 p.m., that's when all of the social things wind down or they start really cranking up, and it's probably best I separate from that anyway. Maybe that's the time you go to bed. Maybe it's not 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. so you can get up at 5. Choose a time that you can do very consistently, because that just makes everything so much easier. If you start missing these bedtimes, you're going to start beating yourself up and you're going to start forgetting about why you sleep in the first place. So I think getting that right. And the other thing is, for most people listening to this who have a problem with their sleep or they feel like it's not perfect, the first few nights, just don't set an alarm. You're going to sleep for a long time because you have sleep debt, right? Eventually your body's going to catch up and be like, okay, I don't need to sleep for 11, 12 hours now. I've caught up. And then you're going to start getting back into more normal, probably sleeping about 7, 9 hours a night. But get rid of that sleep debt. If you're living with zero sleep debt and you're going to bed at essentially the same time every night and waking up without an alarm, oh my god, this would be one of the most mind-blowing life upgrades that you could possibly do. Like, living without sleep debt is going to do more for your mental well-being than just about anything.
Couldn't agree more.
All right. Well,
With that, I guess we can say sweet dreams.
sweet dreams. Yeah. Well, thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.
See you then.